In this video analysis, I'll be delving into the passage from Hesiod's Theogony about the birth of Aphrodite. This depicts the birth of Aphrodite as she arose from the genitalia, which coalesced in foam and created the beautiful goddess. Before we delve into the passage a bit further, let's talk about the brief history of Aphrodite. Aphrodite was a goddess known for sex, fertility, love, and her renowned beauty. She was often revered by prostitutes as their patron. As she was the goddess of sex and love, this played into their main field of profession in days long past. Now let's get back to talking about the literary passage. Here we start out with a gruesome scene as the god Uranus's genitalia themselves, freshly cut with flint, were thrown off the mainland into the restless white-capped sea by Cronos, his son, in an attempt to protect his mother. This is a clear representation of multiple examples of power and cunning in an endless battle of ebb and flow. Cronos' strength matched with his mother Gaia's cunning to defeat her husband Uranus. Such battles occurred throughout time. Brain over bronze, the mighty versus the lame, it's a battle of the ages. But back to the passage. The genitalia floated for a long time in the ocean, but eventually a white foam from the god flesh collected around them, and in that foam a maiden developed and grew. This is the formation and birth of Aphrodite taking place. This is a great little tidbit of information, but Aphros means foam in Greek, which ties back into the formation of Aphrodite herself. Like many of the gods, they are born in very odd and distinct ways. Athena from Zeus's head, Poseidon and Hades from the belly of Uranus. It just seems like a lot of these gods are born from the result of extremely self-destructive attitudes and actions, or from the act of lust and desire. Okay, but let's get back to Aphrodite. She then floated onto the island of Cyprus. There she arose, an awesome, beautiful divinity. This brief description here is all we need to know about the beauty of Aphrodite. She was beautiful. Born from the not-so-humble beginning, she was to be awed and desired by all. As we see next, tender grass sprouted up under her slender feet. Aphrodite is her name, in speech, human, and divine. Since it was in foam she was nourished. As I had stated before, Aphros is the Greek word for foam, so it makes sense that her name would be attributed to such as she was born of and nourished by the foam itself. But in this passage, it goes on to state how her footsteps themselves were so divine and fertile that the ground beneath her feet sprung to life. Such an incredible feat on its own, honestly. I also appreciate that the statement about her feet being slender just to feminize her to an even higher degree. Not only was she beautiful, but she was a woman with slender feet and fertility flowing off her in throes. In the next passage, it goes on to state how she had taken many names due to her circumstances. Cytherea, since she reached Cythera, and Cyprogenes, since she reached the surf line of Cyprus, and Philomedes, because she loved the organs of sex, which she made her epiphany. This passage here is an odd one, since she had many names due to different circumstances. How was her name Aphrodite in human speech and divine alike? It seems to contradict itself on this one. I also noted that the part of her loving sexual organs so much that she devoted herself to them is satisfying. She had been born of such and then decided that her role was obviously supposed to be so. Later on, we see how she had her grand debut in front of the immortals, that after that moment, gods and humans, she was fulfilled the honored function that includes virginal sweet talk, lover smiles, deceits, and all of the gently pleasures of sex. This little part of the passage then goes to show how she was given authority over things related to what she had already invested herself with, love and sex. Most of this passage goes on to state how her beauty truly was her most undeniable trait, along with her love of sex and the sexual organs. This exemplifies our role of how women dominate men in the traditional godlike fashion. This is a role portrayed in many of the tales we've been told so far. Although it may not be beauty that plays the role in this, but rather the men's lack of faith and the strength that comes along with the women or the goddesses in their lives. Tales like those of Gaia and Uranus, who had used her wit to outsmart her powerful husband, or with Rhea and Cronus, who tried to eat all of his children so that he would not fall prey to fate like his father had. Rhea then tricked Cronus, and thus Zeus was born. This tale also exemplifies the power of goddesses who hold dominion over vital sources like sex, fertility, and birth. These goddesses have the power to put all of Olympus, Earth, and the underworld to a standstill with their enormous power. Just like when Demeter lost her daughter Persephone to Hades, and had cursed the land with famine, leading to the gods' growing hunger due to the lack of sacrifices. Same could be said with Aphrodite, but on a grander scale. Without sex being had, the number of humans would dwindle, and the gods would be left with nothing until Zeus steps in to either resolve or recreate humanity. This just goes to show that the goddesses, although not powerful, still have power which they can utilize to get their own way.